The North Pole, the Tony Awards, and a slave revolt are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is April 6, 2022. It is the 96th day of the year. We got 269 days left. It is the 14th Wednesday in the 15th week and the 18th day of spring. If today's your birthday, your birthstone is a diamond or a crystal. Today is National Caramel Popcorn Day. Can't stand caramel popcorn or caramel corn or whatever you want to call it. My wife loves it. I can't stand it. Each year on April 6th, National Caramel Popcorn Day conjures up memories of fairs, sporting events, and fun snacking. That's what it says on their website. Like many famous foods, Cracker Jack gained popularity on the stage at the 1893 World Fair. Combining popcorn and molasses began in the early 1800s. However, caramel was prevalent as well, and with the production of Cracker Jacks, the popularity was ever increasing. It was invented by a man named Frederick Ruckenheim. He was a popcorn merchant that dabbled with creating new snacks. An immigrant of Germany to Chicago, after adding molasses and nuts, their snack was ready to be given to the masses, and it's still going strong to this day. Do they still add a toy to Cracker Jacks? It's been so long. I just looked it up, and actually it is now owned by Frito-Lay, and the toy and trinket prizes were replaced with paper prizes displaying riddles and jokes, temporary tattoos, things like that. In 2013, some prizes became codes for people to play nostalgic games on the Cracker Jack app through Google Play, Android devices only. Then, in 2016, they made another announcement that these codes would replace all other types of prize. So that's all you get nowadays. You gotta download their app and play games on their site or their app or whatever. All right, let's see what else April 6th has given us. 1712, the New York Slave Revolt of 1712 begins near Broadway in New York City. 1808, John Jacob Astor incorporates the American Fur Company and would eventually become America's first millionaire. The fur trade and the fur industry was huge. I mean, a lot of that, you got things like cotton and tobacco that made this country, but the fur trade was giant. Oregon was just awash with trappers back in the 1800s and stuff like that. They almost killed all our beaver off. So bad they had to introduce nutria because they were running out of beaver. I got a nutria that lives in the pond behind my house. He's a giant rat. He doesn't bother anyone, so I just let him do his thing. 1830, Church of Christ, the original church of the Latter-day Saints movement, is organized by Joseph Smith and others at either Fayette or Manchester, New York. They're not sure where it actually got started. That dude, I think we talked about on this channel before, he got tarred and feathered one time. 1841, U.S. President John Tyler is sworn in 2 days after becoming the president upon William Henry Harrison's death. We just talked about that the other day. The guy that decided to do a 2-hour inauguration speech in the rain, got pneumonia and died. His wife never even made it to the White House. She never got to sit in that sweet piece of real estate. 1866, the Grand Army of the Republic, an American patriotic organization composed of Union veterans of the American Civil War, is founded. It lasts until 1956. So 90 years, not bad. I doubt many of the original founders of this organization were still alive. You'd have to be like 110 or something like that. Anyway, 1909, Robert Peary, Matthew Henson become the first people to reach the North Pole. Peary's claims have been disputed because of failings in his navigational ability. Apparently he wasn't too good with a compass and a map. That is one thing I picked up from the military. I know how to read a map and use a compass, and I could find any place. What's funny is I'd use a compass at the very beginning and then glance at the map occasionally, but I could triangulate where I was and know how I'd get someplace just by looking at the different terrain features that I had to be looking for. Other people would map it out and they'd count steps and all that stuff. Not me. I'd just kind of figure out where I was going and get there. 1926, Varney Airlines makes its first commercial flight. Varney is the route company of United Airlines. 1947, the first Tony Awards are presented for theatrical achievements. It's still going to this day. I don't think I've ever watched the Tony Awards, but I know some people prefer that over the Oscars, the Grammys, and everything else. Just not my cup of tea. 1973, the American League of Major League Baseball begins using the designated hitter. If you don't know what that is, let me explain. So you have two leagues. You have the American League, you have the National League, okay? The American League has this rule, and it goes like this. The designated hitter is a baseball player who bats in place of another position player, most commonly the pitcher. So pitchers are like specialists. And in the American League, they don't have them bat because of a couple things. Usually they suck at batting, and two, if they're having a good game, people try and clip them with the ball, and and maybe get him kicked out of the game or something. So normally if you replace a player with another batter, let's say it's the third baseman or something like that, someone comes in and bats for him, well, he can't take the field again. They got to put someone else at third base, or the designated hitter plays third base, something of that nature. Well, if you do this in the American League, you put the designated hitter in there basically, and the pitcher can still go out and play. Now, when they play interleague games and the World Series, if the home team for whatever game is the American League, they use the designated hitter rule for both teams. 2017, the U.S. military launches 59 Tomahawk missiles at an air base in Syria. Russia describes the strike as aggression, adding they significantly damaged U.S.-Russian ties. The whole thing takes a couple hours, and 59 Tomahawks at a little over $1 million a pop. The Supreme Court makes it easier to sue police for malicious prosecution. So if you don't know, there's a lot of different rules. One of them called qualified immunity, where you can't really sue police if they make a mistake or something like that. If it's an honest mistake, like let's say they're shooting at a suspect and they happen to hit you in the head while you're sitting in your living room, you really can't sue them unless they were doing something extremely over the top and out of control and not following the rules. So most of the time, things like that are just kind of treated like an accident. Like let's say you're driving down the road and for some reason your car breaks and your tire flies off and kills someone that's sitting at a bus stop. Okay, well, you're not going to be in trouble because your tire broke. Sure, that family of the person killed at the bus stop could sue, the auto manufacturer, but you're going to be probably in the clear if you didn't do anything stupid, like take off all but one of the bolts on your tire or something. But this Supreme Court decision this week came in at 6-3, and it made it easier for people to sue police for malicious prosecution. The ruling revived a lawsuit brought by a Brooklyn man who sued after being arrested and jailed for 2 days based on an officer's mistaken belief that he had abused his newborn daughter. Criminal charges against the man, Larry Thompson, were later dropped without explanation. In this case, the police received a 911 call from a person staying at the house, said that he was doing things to the child. They get there, they say they're coming in. He says, you don't have a warrant, you can't come in. They bust in the door, they arrest him, which I guess if that's what's on your mind, you could maybe do that, especially if someone's in danger, or a child in this case. Well, they don't inspect anything. They just go on this person's word and they basically arrest him and all this other stuff goes down. The only marks on the child were diaper rash. And then they come to find out that the person that called 911 was suffering from some form of mental illness. Movies released on April 6, 2001, Blow. This was a great Johnny Depp movie. It's based on the true story of a man named George Young, spelled J-U-N-G, and how he met Pablo Escobar, and basically he's part of the reason that Coke became such a big problem in the United States. He was one of the first guys to actually start importing it on a massive level. The film was adapted from Bruce Porter's book titled Blow, How a Small Town Boy Made $100 Million, and the Medellin cartel lost it all. There's one scene in the movie, they're just making way too much money back in the day. Him and his friend had like a 2-bedroom apartment and they were counting money all the time because they were making so much. And they were putting it in these boxes like, that you'd use to keep files or whatever, and they're just stacking money in there. Finally, the one guy opens up the door and he's got the latest box of money and he looks around and it is just wall-to-wall boxes like that. And he's all, George, I think we need a bigger apartment. Yeah, but George Young lost everything. His family quit talking to him and his daughter didn't talk to him. He went to jail for a long time. He died on May 5th, 2021 in Massachusetts. Besides Johnny Depp, it had Penelope Cruz, Paul Rubens, who's Pee Wee Herman, Ray Liotta, Ethan Suplee, and Miguel Sandoval. Born on April 6, 1975, Zach Braff, best known for his role as Dr. John Dorian on the television show Scrubs. In 2014, he partly Kickstarter-funded film Wish I Was Here premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. Yeah, he got the crowdsourcing into getting a movie done. He did a movie called Garden State where he actually did the soundtrack, recorded, wrote everything. This movie, Garden State, was pretty good. Died on April 6, 1944, Rose O'Neal. In the early 1900s, she created the popular Kewpie comic strip, which inspired America's highly successful Kewpie doll line and resulted in O'Neal being named the world's wealthiest female illustrator. Apart from her work as an artist, she published works of fiction and poetry and was involved in the early 20th century suffrage movement. So there's an actual high school that's football mascot is the Kewpie doll. They're called the Hickman Kewpies, and they got their football name or their mascot name from the doll. On April 6, 1944, O'Neill died of heart failure resulting from paralysis at the home of her nephew in Springfield, Missouri. She was only 69. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a productive day, and be nice to each other.